Okay, so we're going to have day number 2 of solving trigonometric equations. This also will be a review for this Friday's test. We will see today some different types of trigonometric equations, all still fairly straightforward if you remember the process and the method that we used on video number 1. So here I have the equation cosine of 4 theta minus pi over 4 is equal to square root of 2 over 2. This is certainly an equation that some of you will be able to think about right away and say, oh, I know what theta is, but if this is an assessment type problem, you will be required to show some steps. And what we're going to use is we're going to use the substitution method for this. And Mary Beth, what do you think that we're going to use substitution? Excuse me, Mary Beth. Mary Beth, how do you think I'm going to use substitution on this? You are correct, Mary Beth. I'm going to let A equal 4 theta minus pi over 4. Now this is going to be a pretty darn easy equation to solve, because if A is 4 pi minus pi over 4, I have this equation here. The cosine of A is equal to square root of 2 over 2. And so now I'm going to, the step now I'm going to do is I'm going to look Bobby Joe, can you tell me the next step? Yes, you are correct, Bobby Joe. We're going to look at the unit circle. And we're going to determine the A values such that the cosine of A is square root of 2 over 2. And I notice here that A is, let's keep in color coordinate things. A is going to be pi over 4. Or A is going to be 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4, 5/4, 6/4, 7/4 pi. And I'm looking at the unit circle. Make sure that you can fill out a unit circle. If you can't fill out a unit circle, oh my goodness gracious, you better be able to fill out a unit circle. So what are we going to do now? Well, A is 4 theta minus pi over 4, so I'm simply going to put 4 theta minus pi over 4 and solve that for theta. And likewise here, I'm going to do 4 theta minus pi over 4 is equal to 7/4 pi. And all I'm simply going to do now is do some simple algebra and solve for theta. Equation number 1 on the left, the step number 1, do you know, Arthur? Arthur, yes, Arthur, you are correct. I'm going to add pi over 4 to both sides. So this is going to be 4 theta is equal to pi over 4 plus pi over 4. I'm adding pi over 4 to both sides. Pi over 4 plus pi over 4, 1 apple plus 2 apples. No, 1 apple plus 1 apple is 2 apples. 2/4 is 1/2. So now I have 4 theta is equal to pi over 2. So what do you think, Albert? What's the next step here? Yes, the next step is going to be to divide by 4 or multiply by 1/4. And if I multiply both sides by 1/4, this guy is going to become the single theta. And then this is going to be pi over 2 times 1/4. And that solution then is going to be theta is going to be pi over 8. Okay, pretty simple equation once you do the substitution. And in like manner, let's solve this other guy over here. And here I have 4 theta. Again, I'm going to take, I think it was Mary Beth that told me to add pi over 4 to both sides. 7/4, and I will write the step out for you, Arthur. So if I have 7/4 plus 1/4, that's 8/4. Okay, that's going to be 8/4 pi, and 8/4 pi is the same as 2 pi. So now I have 4 theta is equal to 2 pi. Therefore, theta is going to be, are you alive? So you're absolutely right, Arthur. And this time I'm going to multiply by 1/4. And if I do indeed multiply by 1/4 to both sides, and 2 divided by 4 is 2, so theta is going to be, oh my, pi over 2, not pi over pi, you silly head. So now I have two solutions to that equation. One is pi over 8 and one is pi over 2. Okay, let's zoom out and look at the single page, entire page. And there's the entire page. Okay, this is the step that we would like, that we are going to require that you do, because this is an important process in calculus, this whole substitution method. So you're going to have to use the substitution method. This particular problem could even be worth 4 points. 1 point for the substitution, 1 point for finding the correct A's, and then 1 point for finding the correct, 1 point each for finding the correct thetas. Okie dokie. So let's do another example. So now I have another example off of Lori. I'm going to, here's the equation, square root of 3 tangent of 1/3 theta is equal to 1. And I'm going to again use the substitution method. And what do you think, Alfonso? What substitution, what A are we going to use here? Do you know? You are correct, Alfonso. I'm going to let A equal 1/3 theta. Now I'm going to have an equation just in A. And here you go. I'm going to have square root of 3 tangent of A is equal to 1. I'm going to isolate the trigonometric ratio by dividing by square root of 1/3, or multiplying by 1 over square root of 3. And so now I have the tangent of A is equal to 1 over square root of 3. That simplifies to all square root of 3 over 3. And we need to know which angles map to square root of 3 over 2. The tangent of which angles map to a positive square root of 3 over 3. And we know, because we are extremely proficient using the unit circle, and we know that A is going to equal pi over 6, or A is going to be 7/6 pi. The tangent of both of those angles will be positive square root of 3 over 2. And now what are we going to do? We're going to back substitute. We know that A is 1/3 theta. So A is going to be 1/3 theta is equal to pi over 6. And now I'm going to pick on you again, Alfonso. So how do I solve for theta? This time I'm going to multiply both sides by 3. And I'm going to have theta is going to equal pi over 6 times 3, which happens to be pi over 2. In like manner, I'm going to put 1/3 theta in this rascal. I'm going to multiply both sides by 3. And here theta is going to equal, and if I do multiply both sides by 3, this is going to be 7/2 pi. True or false? False? Oh, that was very good, Mary Beth, that you noticed that. I wanted the solutions only between 0 and 2 pi. And you were very quick to note that 7/3 pi or 7/2 pi was outside of this range. So this particular equation only has one solution, and that one solution is pi over 2. This is what we call a nope. Does it solve? Nope, because it's not in the desired interval 0 to 2 pi. Okay, so be careful. And when you're doing your homework tonight, you need to realize that I believe there's 2 problems from Bill that has what we call an extraneous solution. So now we're going to do an equation that has a secant in it. And if I look at this particular problem off of Lori Darlin, this particular problem is the secant squared of theta. I'm going to write it as theta. They use alpha here. Minus 4 is equal to 0. Noting that I again want the thetas greater than or equal to 0, less than 2 pi. No need for substitution this time, because I already have a single variable a single angle that I am ratioing. But I need to isolate the trigonometric ratio by adding 4 to both sides. You're correct, Beth, that we're going to square root both sides. And if I square root both sides, I have the square root of secant squared theta and the square root of 4. And we know from our 3rd grade class that the square root of 4 is 2. And the square root of secant squared is the absolute value of secant. And therefore, this particular equation says, dude, secant theta is equal to 2, or secant theta is equal to negative 2. So now I need to figure out which thetas do we have such that the secant of theta is 2 or negative 2. And secant is what? 1 over cosine. So I want the cosines that map to 1/2. So back to the equations, Woodrow. And you are correct, Woodrow. The secant of theta, when is theta, for what theta is the secant of theta 2? You are absolutely right. So I have theta is equal to pi over 3. 5/3 pi. And when is secant theta equal to negative 2? When theta is equal to 2/3 pi or 4/3 pi. I'm going to zoom out here and let you look at the entire page. And this is a simple substitution problem here. We're going to let a equal 3 theta minus pi over 4, which gives us the sign that a is equal to 1. I'm going to let the unit circle and say, hey, a has to be pi over 2. Therefore, 3 theta minus pi over 4 is a is equal to pi over 2. Keep in mind, if the video is going too fast, you can always pause the video. I'm going to add pi over 4 to both sides. This is 2/4 pi. So 3 theta is equal to 3/4 pi. Now I'm going to divide both sides by 3, and that says theta is equal to pi over 4. Very good, Roscoe.